welcome to Newsroom. I'm Kejang Henry in Douala, Cameroon. We look beyond 50 years of our independence and reunification. And first, thinking aloud about issues around and about us. And we shall equally take a look on Cameroon's bilingualism 50 years after the reunification. Is Cameroon bilingual, or Cameroonians themselves bilingual? Is bilingualism is just a matter of, talking about it like a child's play or putting it actually in practice? That, as Cameroon will be celebrating the 48th anniversary of the National Youth Day. Once more, welcome to Newsroom. Well, first things first, we are going to present our panelists for today. Unfortunately, one person is absent, but then we're going to do that. He is a publisher. He is a development consultant, and I must say, a book development consultant, lecturer at the Advanced School of Mass Communication, that is in Yaoundé University 1. And of course, he is equally a lecturer of communication in the Christian University in Bamenda, precisely in Bali. I'm talking about Mr. B.D. Bomaco, and I want to say thanks very much for having.
Thank you.
Thanks for having accepted my invitation.
Thank you very much.
Like your attire there.
Thank you.
Not very common to find people traditionally dressed. I love that aspect.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Now, Bomaco, let us look at the case. Africa and the Central African sub-region is now taking a new trend. Historically, after independence, we now see a woman, steering the affairs of a state. How did you welcome the election of Madame Christine Panza Samba Panza as the transitional president of the Central African Republic?
It was exciting news. It's exciting news for us in Africa, because since I think it is Sierra Leonean, no, not Sierra Leonean, Liberian,
Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And then the Zambian, I think the vice president of Zambia.
Yes, you're right.
Yes. We now have Madame Panza, Christine Samba Panza, which is a great news for us, big news for us. Especially, I teach writing, and I keep telling writers, that female writers, that this is their time. This is the time that female writers should come to the limelight and try to do something to let us see the other aspect, the feminine aspect of the world. The world has been so masculine because our leaders have all been men, and men talk about men issues.
Putting the women issue aside.
Generally putting the women behind. But it is time that we should have more women leaders. I was so happy and proud that Alice, next door neighbor, the president is a woman. And I know, there is something that you will find in this the situation which is going to come out from when she starts developing her cabinet and start ruling. She has a big force that is behind her. The women.
The women.
The women. And I know that as a mother, she will handle the issues, she will handle the rebels, she will handle all those people who are in the army and so on.
And of course, especially as the first warning shot she sent was calling on those people to down their tools and come on the negotiating table.
If we look at what Sirleaf Johnson did, Madame Sirleaf Johnson did in Liberia, we would see that she will be successful.
Now, thanks very much, Bomaco, and appreciate that analysis. Another guest is Mr. Tassom George Anu. He is equally a linguist, a writer and a publisher, and I must say, Anukam Publishers Press. Thanks very much, Mr. Anu, for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Henry.
Yes, you are coming up. Of course, we know that in fact, next week, Cameroonians will be moving into the bilingualism week and very much involved in bilingualism. Are we like saying that bilingualism is a matter of only the cities, the celebration is only in the cities, or even the punch that they give when it comes to bilingualism is only in the cities and not the villages and towns that are involved?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Henry. When you look at the bilingualism in Cameroon, most often we talk of bilingualism only in cities. The interland teachers are not there who are supposed to teach English for the Francophones or French for the Anglophones in the interland. So when we talk of celebrating a bilingualism day, only cities are manifesting. Those who are in the villages, they don't even know what's called bilingualism. Most of the schools in the village do not have teachers either in the Anglophone zone teaching French or teachers in the Francophone zone teaching English. But what I would like to point out is that it was the question of the beginning. If at the beginning, teachers for primary schools were trained to teach all subjects as they teach all subjects in their classes, not giving English especially only to Anglophones to teach English to Francophones, or giving French to Francophones to teach French to Anglophones, it might be this problem might have been already solved. But I think the government...
So are you like saying that it's high time now in teachers training colleges, they should teach the teachers French so that they can teach the French to their pupils?
Yes, I'm trying to say that in the teacher training colleges, the government should already take the bull by the horns so that English could be taught to Francophones teachers who are going to teach, teacher students, of course, who are going to teach, so that when they get back to their various schools, let them be teaching all subjects in French plus the English language itself. And in the Anglophone zone, let Anglophone too be taught French so that in their own schools, let them teach English and also teach French as a subject too in their school. Let them not be waiting only that an Anglophone should come and teach English in Francophone zone, and a Francophone go and teach French in an Anglophone zone. You see that if we don't do like this, we will be staying on the same spot.
Well, thanks very much. I just hope that in fact, I don't think anyway that the urban generation will be able to do that, except our children who are now taught French and English in most schools. Well, thanks very much, Mr. Tasson. We shall be thinking aloud on that issue alongside Bamako. Yes. Now, let's have our story of the week, courtesy our Northwest Regional Bureau Chief, Annie Collins.
Call it Mobile or Totanquen, downtown Bamenda 3 Council area. This is the spot that has been given trouble to drivers, bike riders and other road users, especially at morning and evening rush hours. It is surprising that, despite the multiplicity of government services in charge of town development issues, none of them has been able to replace barely about 6 slabs that have fallen off from this gutter linking Mobile and Cow Street.
They should arrange the potholes. Disturb a lot. The pothole disturb a lot.
This place here disturbs me a lot. Firstly, ambutillage. When I come there, I have to stop. Maybe my petrol goes. I spend a lot of time there. Then again, the traffic that it causes, you will see that the bikes, when they are coming, they don't even take note of the fact that other cars are struggling to come in. If you turn around, you just see what is happening there. That woman is struggling to climb that place. It needs attention. I think the government delegate and maybe the people, public works and the rest of the people should take care of this place.
The Bamenda 3 Council, the City Council, the Delegation of Housing and Urban Development can all assume responsibility. During a recent City Council session, councillors resolved that the government delegate undertakes the tarring of 2 kilometers of roads in each of the 3 local council areas each year.
During this session, added some amount of money that can give us a total of about 5 to 6 kilometers within the City Council area. Those are some of the visible things that we can do to actually improve on the situation of the population of Bamenda. But above all, we are waiting seriously on government, who must come in this 2014 to intervene on most of the infrastructure within the city of Bamenda, such that by the end of the financial year, our population should be breathing a different air.
The population is hopeful that this little and simple to resolve road problem in the heart of Bamenda be looked into as part of the City Council resolution to better the lives of their citizens.
Welcome back. Thanks very much, Annie Collins, our man on the beat at our regional bureau in Bamenda, or say Northwest. Thanks, Mr. Bomako. You followed that story coming from Bamenda. This is an aspect now of either globalization versus localization. Or do you see anything like conflict of responsibility here? The government delegate who is based in Bamenda, the roads are bad in Bamenda, and it's half Bamenda 1 council there. Conflict of opinion and conflict of responsibility?
I think that if we are going to say we have to decentralize, we should fully decentralize, because that is the problem we are facing now. Most responsible people, their hands are tied because they don't know what responsibility you should take. For instance, you have, like the case we have just mentioned there, you find that the government delegate has certain things here. His role overlaps with the council. And if we are going to give the council, which of parts of the town will the council be responsible? Which are those that are going to be responsible by the government? And these are some of the things that make difficulties. So my own side of the point I would like to make is that if there is going to be full decentralization, so that the councils should have the authority to do our roads in the city and the ones that are done in the local area. I think that would help a lot.
Yeah, Mr. Tasso, Bamako is talking there about giving more of a decentralized, the decentralization process should be more effective. But when we look at it, and it's like they always want to, keep part of the decentralization back at the level of the administration in Yaoundé. Do you think it is time to just spring out that decentralization?
When we talk of decentralization, is power given to a particular individual. And then, if this power can be given to a particular individual, let them give him this power wholeheartedly, so that he should have free hands in order to rule. If you are ruling with a hand tied, I think you will be afraid really to take some decision, because you think that each time that you take a decision, it may be another decision from above will come and cancel yours. And that is why sometimes you see lack of application of decision. Yeah, that is my own opinion. And that is the case that we have just seen in Bamenda. Maybe the government delegate and the mayor, each of them is thinking that I should not go beyond my power. Maybe it's because their powers were not fully defined. That is why the conflict might have come in.
I have even seen a situation, even in Yaoundé, those days, let me put it that way, in this Melen, Melen used to be very, very bad.
Yes, of course.
In those days. Now, what was the problem? It was because the town council could not do the road because it was not their responsibility. Even though everybody says it's the town council that can do it. So we have this problem, which I think if we cannot spell out responsibility, it's going to cause similar things. And it's not only in this situation of roads. There are many cases where, like the president said in his last speech, you see, there are conflicts of roles. There are too many ministries that are involved in roads, for instance. So it will be good for us to have one ministry that can be responsible for this, but with several departments, heads of departments.
Or directorates.
Or directorates.
So is it now time for to say that they cut down the number of ministries, Mr. Tasso?
Even if we don't cut down the number of ministries, we should divide the roles. Each ministry should be well defined, know the roles that the ministry is playing.
Ministry of Town Planning and, Housing,
Yeah.
or
She
Urban
have the
Development and
limit.
Housing
Yes.
involved. The City Council is involved. You know, the Ministry of Public Works is involved.
Public Works.
Like you were saying.
Yeah.
Can one ministry not do the job?
If one ministry is doing the job, it means that we have to have so many sub-directors who are going to be in charge of those departments.
You see, the problem is the more ministerial departments we have, the more the expenses. The fewer the ministries, more funds will be put into the activities in the areas that one ministry can carry on. I think that fewer ministries help to reduce expenses, government expenses,
of course.
I mean.
That's it.
And therefore, more funds will be put where the action is needed than on general, what we call overhead expenses.
Thanks very much, Bumako. And of course, let's move to our subject matter of the day. Before then, let's have this break with Collins. The proliferation of miracle-selling churches in Cameroon is growing day by day, with each of them strategizing minute by minute to market its miraculous savvy. All this to woo as many followers as possible.
You have to pay for a miracle, but it is not written anywhere in the Holy Scriptures that you should pay for the miracle. Miracles are prodigious. These are wonders that are going along with the servant of God, just to make unbelievers to believe that God is existing and God is love. But for the reason or the matter of pregnancies, many women are now going to churches because they are expecting a child. We know it's a serious problem for a woman for not having a child. But it is not because you are looking for a child that you go and catch a serpent or catch a snake.
Christian Balago is a preacher with the Evangelical Church based in Douala, Cameroon. He says even Jesus Christ did not dramatize miracles the way it is done now.
All are doing what I would call merchandising or marketing around miracles. But it is not what is written in the Holy Scriptures. Miracles are happening for those who have faith. Because it is written, you are saved by your faith. You are not saved by your money. It is not because you have paid too much that you have the miracle. Or you will not expect the miracle because of the money you paid to a man of God, a so-named man of God. Because let me call them false prophets, because I don't think these people are making or are doing according to what is written. Are you the owner of the miracle? No. Okay, we have these new churches that are called Pentecostal churches. And in the phenomenon we have now noticed is that many women, our sisters, our mothers, and our spouses are always going to these churches just for miracles. People are not going there because they want to change or to repent. They are going there for miracles. And what is happening now is that those men of God, or supposed men of God, that are supposed to bring these people into the faith, into the believing of the true gods, have become they have become sellers of miracles.
It is commonplace to find hundreds of churches publicly selling miracles, especially to women who yearn to have a baby. And so women in Cameroon rush to these churches to buy miracles. The recent example in question are these women in the town of Edea who fell in the miraculous dragnet of these false prophetess.
Then my cousin is a doctor. He took a very good time with me. I said, Baba, provoke me this pregnancy. He said, I'm not saying you are pregnant. He touched my stomach. I said, no, I'm not pregnant. I said, no, I want to deliver. He said, okay, since you are doubting me, climb on the bed. Then he put me a provoking drips Until I didn't have no pains, he said, okay, I should calm down. He went in and made an echography. He was accused that I should come for an immediate operation. If not, I will not have any child again. I will die childless.
What does it take to have a baby? Dr. Godfred Bois is a gynecologist, obstetrician, and expert in assisted reproductive techniques. He says it takes beyond prayers and the miracles selling to procreate.
The human race, just like any race of living things, is sustained by the process of reproduction, which is known, it is known anyway, that an individual, a male and a female, will have to meet for a child to come about in their lives. And by so doing, they contribute in sustaining the human race. Scientifically, it is known God created us that way. And, you know, there are times that the couple may have difficulties conceiving. And on scientific grounds, investigations will be carried out. And when investigations are carried out, the cause may be known, may be discovered. Let's take, for instance, a woman who has obstructed fallopian tubes. These tubes will be unblocked by either surgical method, using a method we call endoscopic surgery, and after having unblocked these tubes, the woman now can take in. There are other difficulties a woman may have: hormonal deficiency, ovarian causes, and many others. When these problems are corrected, a woman definitely will become pregnant. And following the natural process that God, endowed us with, that is, God endowed each and every one of us with the power of reproducing. And when, as I've said, if a woman is having difficulties conceiving in a natural way, she or the couple can come and meet a doctor, a gynecologist who is specialized in reproductive health, and as such, he or she will carry out the investigation, and the cause will be uncovered, and of course, the couple will become pregnant.
The most interesting aspect in this business of miracles vending is that after 10, 5, and even 15 years, the same women find themselves in the same situation. Well, thanks very much. Welcome back to the studio. Bomaco, it's a pathetic story, and it calls for us thinking beyond what you want to say, thinking aloud.
I am so saddened to hear that report. In fact, the first time I heard it, I just said to myself, where are we heading to? Where are we heading to? In my book, I talked about the multiplicity of churches. And also there is another heading there, the vulnerability of Christians. And that's the situation we find. I mean, there are so many people now who come out to say they are prophets. They are miracle workers. And many, many people are carried away by this fact, forgetting that no person, no human being can make you have a baby. There is no miracle that will come by somebody. It's only God alone who gives children. And let me try to say something to my fellow women, my fellow Cameroonian women who are stranded because they do not have a child. You know, when a woman doesn't have a child, it's quite something. I sympathize with them. But we have a story in the Bible. I just give one of these stories where Hannah, she was married with her co-banya who was provoking her all the time
for not having
a child. But what did she do? She went on prayer. She went to pray. She met a man a servant of God. Let me put it this way, because when we say man of God, we are just...
Are we abusing?
We are just abusing the strength for which God has given us. He made a servant of God, the prophet, whom prayed for her, and she continued to pray. The point I am making is that without faith, without you having a relationship, a closeness, without you, how do you have faith? You have faith by hearing the word of God, by reading the word of God regularly, by accepting Jesus Christ. And then that faith with Jesus Christ can carry on to have what you can ask in prayer. If you don't have it now, believe that you will have it tomorrow. If you don't have it tomorrow, just know that God has to take care of you.
God's time is the best.
Yes.
As is always said. Well, every time, Tasong, it is the women. Every time it is the women. We saw more than 100 of them, stranded. They brandished their echography results. None of them were pregnant. And the big story is that they were given anointed water by the prophetess and prayers. That was just all. No medical consultation. Some even confessed that they went to the medical doctor and they were shouted by the prophetess. Why only our women?
Go there?
It is the women because, when a woman is looking for a child, she's desperate. And she can go into any house to look for a baby. And this is why these men of God use this opportunity to divert their attention, even to make them leave their men, telling them that your man is your problem. Meanwhile, as the former speaker just said, it is God's issue. It is only God that can give you a child. Men of God, I don't know how they become men of God. It is their problem.
Bomako prefers servants of God.
Yes, okay, servants of God. Because
So according to me, I just think that when somebody is desperate, you can divert the person's attention at any moment. When you are looking for an offer and you go to somebody and you don't have the means to have that offer that you need from the person, anything that the person says to you, you accept. That is why our women are always diverted very fast.
Okay, thanks very much. We move now to something different. Thinking aloud, I would like Collins to project this book. Looking beyond 50 years of our independence and reunification, this is the major issue that we are going to discuss, or one of the issues that we are going to discuss on this program. Thanks very much, Roland, for giving us a broad spectrum of the cover page. And it's a publication of B.D. Bomako. He's formerly a columnist with the Herald. That was between 1989 and 2000. Bomako, what are we thinking now aloud, 50 years after the independence and the reunification now?
Yes. We need to think beyond the celebrations. We need to think 50 years ahead of us. These are issues which should cause us to think about what is going to happen. Because I wrote this 20 years ago, updated the material, because the things are still living with us. We have not solved most of those problems. Can we rethink about these things in the next 50 years, where we want to build a Cameroon that should be a country of our own making?
And still with you, it's about 300 or 439 page book. Lest I forget, 413. 413, in fact, cumbersome indeed. Yes. But that's written in very simple language that can be at the reach of just everybody. Now, the major issues
divided into the various topics. So it makes it easy for you to take a topic and look at the subjects that have been treated in each of these topics. And each of these topics concern the Cameroonian, concerns issues before Cameroonian, which they should think and resolve, especially for decision makers.
No, but you opened up with politics, yes. And when you look at the politics of the book, Thinking Aloud, the main issue is the two systems palaver and the Anglophone question.
Yes.
Why this?
I was thinking very much, you know, on the problem. Before this book, there's not been much talk about the Anglophone problem. It was some side kind of an issue that should not be talked about. But during the time that I was writing, it came to the point that we cannot stop talking about it. And so a lot of people had to write about it and explain, because the Anglophone problem, as some people saw it, let me say Francophones saw it as just like the problems of all minorities. So they could say there are other minorities in Cameroon that should be taken. But that's not the problem. Some other people saw it as marginalization. But for me, it's not a minority issue. It is not it's an issue of marginalization. It is a political issue. It is a constitutional issue. It's a fact. You know, many people forget, and as some people say, our minds are so short, we don't remember easily. This nation came to being as a nation in the making. As a nation in the making, it got its independence by the options that were given. You want to join the Republic of Cameroon and gain your independence, or you want to be independent by joining the Federation of Nigeria.
Now, I'll come back to you, Bumako. Let me just go to Mr. Tasok there. Now, he raised a point, Bumako, you know, thinking even beyond the 50th and beyond the celebration. That is to say that there is something wrong somewhere, and nobody wants to take that challenge or that step to, you know, solve that problem. Now, what do you think will be the next 50, you know, with the children that we are leaving behind, so that they should think beyond just this celebration that will be coming?
Yes, I think they have been playing the game of hide and seek. That's what I would say. Because there is a problem that nobody wants to go into it wholeheartedly. The Anglophone thinks that it is their problem. The Francophones seem to neglect that particular problem, which is the problem of minority, as he has said. They think that hence this minority is making noise, hence we are the majority, let's keep silent, and then the wind will keep going, but not knowing that it is a timing bomb. Excuse me to say this, because each time that the generation will come up, they will still think about that our forefathers, our parents were talking of this issue. Why were they talking of this issue if it were not an important issue? So I think it is the highest time for the both parties to sit and see what they can do in order to solve the problem peacefully. That's my own thinking.
In my book, I try to give a simple illustration of what this issue is about. You know, a group of people from the Western region, they were having their General Assembly in Kumba. And they were coming from all parts of the country to go to Kumba. And you know what? Kumba...
Prior to the roads that were done.
That's why, yes. Kumba was, at that time, 20 years ago, the roads were so horrible. Those who took the train thought that they would go easily. And those who said they will go by road said they will be faster, and then when they reach there, they will rest for some. But both of them, no one had a story to tell, nice story to tell. What I am saying, the Anglophone problem is a one of neglect. It's principally part of neglect. If we're having problems today in this country, it's just that that side of the country has been forgotten.
But there are don't you think there are other parts, Mr. Song, that have been neglected too within the Francophone side of the country? Is it only an Anglophone issue in terms of development?
Yeah, in terms of developments, you know, the government has a plan. It may be that the plan for those regions, the funds allocated for the region didn't reach there. Yeah, but for the Anglophone problem is a question of, it may be because
Or is it the Anglophones being the problem of Anglophones?
I don't think so. I don't think so. The problem is from the authority above, not the Anglophone themselves. The Anglophone have realized that they have been left behind, and they are struggling to catch up. And that is why you see them carrying on always their movement of Anglophone secession, even though it has not gone right up to where they are expecting. But as you have just said, if other regions of Cameroon are neglected, it may be because of point of interest that the government does not see why the government should develop those regions. I think so, because if there was a point of interest, the government might have already developed all the regions.
At least from a social standpoint, the government should develop its people, that empower its people, even if they have the resources there or not, even if the government has the interest there or not.
You know, economically, sometimes the government think otherwise. Yeah, and that is why you see some of these regions abandoned because of economic resources that are not worthwhile there. If there were economic resources worthwhile, I think the government will go right up there. But it is a mistake that the government is thinking about.
Kumba Manfe Road was announced by President Biya that it's going to be tarred, and the Kumba Bakassi Road, the Ring Road. Those are the projects. I think this big one, because the Ring Road issue and the Kumba Manfe issue, I think these are the big issues when it comes to development that the Anglophones are really looking for.
Like one lady and the Vox Pop that was made, she said, "I'll wait and see." And that means a lot, because you remember in the days before, President Ahidjo went and inaugurated that Kumba Manfe Road. They told him that the road was already tarred, and he was so frustrated to come and see only a road that was graded.
An earth road.
An earth road. So that woman who reported that, I will live to see before I will believe. So this question you are saying is, let action be taken and let some follow-up be made. Let me just try to explain what I mean by neglect. It's not so much neglect of an environment, or you would say, it's administrative. It's administrative neglect. In the case of appointments, how many Anglophones are made to run themselves, are made to be in charge of themselves? How many DOs, how many governors, how many, these things affect a people. When you are, that's why we are talking about decentralization. Decentralization, you should give opportunities to the citizens of the place to govern themselves. And there would be development which will be meaningful. When you have an administrator who comes from somewhere, who doesn't understand the people, go to Buea. Buea is all French speaking. And then they don't even learn the French. You send an administrator there, he stays there for 5, 10 years. He cannot speak English. He forces himself to speak, even in Bamenda.
Yes, Mr. Tasso, before you come there, you're itchy there.
Yes, he said something concerning Buea, especially Buea University. I want witness, it was just like a debate between some Americans and some Cameroonians. Anglophones were complaining that all the power places, as I would put it, in Buea University are handled by the Francophones. But an American asked, are they speaking French or English? And those people who were handling this post were speaking English. He said, but what is the difference between you and the person who is speaking English? And then there was no answer. I think that this issue...
Is it an issue of the 11th province?
It is, at this level, what he has cited like that, is a question of language. Because when we complain, I want to learn, when we complain internally, a foreigner will hear another person speaking English. He will say, but this is an Anglophone speaking English. His English is fluent. Why you complain that he's not Anglophone?
But there is an aspect of a cultural attachment.
Yeah, that's why he's trying to say that we could define by using your region in order to appoint you. The appointment should go according to the region, is what he has just said.
And not according to language.
And not according to the language. So that you will be developing your own house. You don't neglect your house, because if it is your house, you will know what to do in your house. It may be because foreigners are there and they don't take care of your own house, they say, okay, anyway, I can leave this place any moment, but you, who is the owner of the house, you know how to keep your house.
You know, the beauty of Cameroon is that we can speak English and French. And I think it's encouraging that we all struggle to speak either of the languages. But, you know, when somebody comes, an external person comes in Cameroon, a foreigner comes in Cameroon, when he doesn't make a difference between what kind of English you speak or what kind of French you speak.
What do you mean?
You see,
what do you mean? What do you mean?
What I mean is that what I'm referring, I'm just following up from what he's saying. This foreigner thinks that because I can understand him speak French or speak English, he's an English speaking. But that's not the case. And that's the confusion we are facing today in Cameroon, that somebody who speaks English is taken for an English-speaking person.
Yeah, is what I was
and
to say.
It has gone up to government where people who are speaking English are appointed thinking that they are English-speaking. You see? I think the beauty of Cameroon is that we to look at the region. Where does this person come from? If you have to appoint this person, I'm talking about regionalization, not the central government. Central government, everybody can be anywhere, you know. But we want to decentralize and make our communities more governable by the people who are there, so that even administrators who are sent there should also be people of that area.
Now, then where do we keep the aspect of national integration, Mr. Tasso?
Yeah, that is
based on what Bomako is saying.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to learn. I think that if we are the sons of Cameroonians, if you are posted somewhere, if you are appointed somewhere, you should do your duty as if it were your home. Yeah. If we don't have this idea, we may come to tribalism, we may come to sectorism, where people will think that unless you are from this place, you cannot have a post. So I think that, but if we mix up ideas, we will grow better. Because somebody from a different zone may have another point of view than what the son of the soil has. Yes, that's what I'm thinking. So I think that it is only the question of consciousness. We should be conscious as Cameroonians.
National integration is a process. National integration leads us to unity. But before that, it's reunification. Have we really achieved the kind of reunification that we meant? That is the question that's the question asked. Because we are still in a process. The idea was that we should get over and reunite and reunify. Let us be like we used to be before the Germans. Before we were separated
by the Great Wars.
The Great Wars. If we come together, we will know ourselves as Cameroonians. We do not need to talk about the language. Although language is very important as far as unity of a people is concerned. But when we are united, we do not more see all those cleavages. English speaking, French speaking should no more be. We should see ourselves that I come from Bamenda, I come from Douala, I come from, you know, let us see ourselves as that and know ourselves as Cameroonians. Because, my brother, you will see that there are some people who think that they are not Cameroonians. They are French, they are British. Some people even say, I have an American nationality. You know, who are we? No, let Cameroonians identify themselves by where they come from. And in that case, we will bring unity. In fact, reunification was to lead us towards this national integration. And national integration is our best bet if we all have to be. I've talked about this.
Yes, you talked about, just coming back to that, you talk about it in the book, Thinking Aloud, that the major actors actually did not leave any document or memoir from which people should really know the true story of how it happened, the process. Fonchas did not leave, the Endelis did not leave, many of them. Now, what do you think can be the way forward as part of this history is written down in patches?
That is why I say our Cameroon history is in patches, as I would say. We need to really rewrite Cameroon history. Because, as I said in the book, journalists, historians, there have not been eyewitness accounts which will help us to understand. We go through documents and the United Nations, in the libraries abroad and so on, but we have not been able to. When I ask of memoirs, you bring me now to make this point. I think our responsible people should begin to think about writing memoirs, leaving a document, their eyewitness account of what they have done during their passage in office. Because then it will help us. I tried my best with some of them to meet them as a publisher, but they said, no, I don't want to write anything now. I want that I will write afterwards. And then, you know, when we say afterwards, we don't think of the future.
Well, thanks very much, Boumaco. In fact, we are going to delve into something different and talking about memoirs. Somebody said, without calling names here, that the history of the people made by, you know, those who were the first people, but then the history will be handed down to, you know, generations to come by, you know, philosophers of history. Well, let's have a break and then move on to something different. Well, thanks very much. Welcome back. Cameroon will be celebrating the National Bilingualism Day or Bilingualism Week. And of course, that will maybe coincide too with the Youth Week activities and, of course, celebrations 48th anniversary of the 11th of February, or the National Day. And to that effect, get used to English. And here I have Mr. Tasson George Anu, who is a writer, publisher, and of course he is with the Anukam Press. Okay, thanks very much, a linguist. Now, what triggered the publication of this new book, Get Used to English, or S'habituer en anglais? En anglais, yeah. En anglais, thanks very much, sorry. Yeah. Yes?
The importance of Get Used to English is to initiate Francophones speak English without any major problem. Because I have realized that for the time being that I've been teaching them, I've realized two major problems. The first is pronunciation, and the second is understanding what it means in French. Because at each time that you are teaching, Monsieur, je ne comprends pas ce que ça veut dire. Monsieur, je ne connais pas prononcer. And these words are just like a hindrance to the learning of English to Francophones. And that is why I have come out with this pamphlet in order to solve these two major problems. And I think that those who have started using the book, the appreciation is already there. Even from America, I have received a phone call. From Britain, I have received a phone call that I should send some copies there. Those who left, before leaving, they saw the book. When they got there, they found it difficult starting because it is like a base. I've initiated all the Francophones from every country, how to start from the base. Because their greatest problem is knowing the elementary English elements. And that is why most of them do not speak English. Because they are ashamed, they think they don't know how to pronounce, or they don't know how to conjugate the verb, or they don't know how to come about saying something. But with this book, I have started from the grassroots, yeah, in order to make them know that from the grassroots, you can say 2 or 3 words in English.
Have you carried the works to the hinterlands? Because we know that in the hinterlands, it's difficult for children to speak English. Let us take the case of the East.
Yes.
Or right down extreme south.
Yeah, for the moment, we have not been able to get right to the hinterland because of the means. You know what it is. But we are trying to make sure that the book gets to all the families in the hinterland because of the cost price. We have make it in such a way that those who are the hinterland will be able to afford for a copy. And that is why you see the material is not too worthwhile. But we think that in future, all the Francophones will be able to have a copy. But our main priority is that those who will have the copy, they will be able to tell the others that this book is worthwhile, that you can have your own copy.
Now, Bomako, now, this is something very crucial. We are talking about, you know, the learning, teaching French, teaching English to Francophones. But it actually, it's like there's a paradox, because when we look at both ways, the Anglophones too equally have problems because they too don't have the teachers. Is there a paradox?
There is, well, if you call it a paradox, I would look at it in the basics, the teaching methods. You know, the teaching methods are different. When you write a book for English for Francophones, it's not the same like when you write English for English-speaking people. I like to use the word English-speaking, not Anglophone, because that word has become politicized these days. But the fact is that we are English-speaking and French-speaking. When a book is written for one language, we should try to respect the cultural and linguistic aspects of that language. And you would see that his effort is to try to bridge the gap with the understanding of English-speaking people to French and French people, French speakers to understand English. I think it's an encouraging aspect and encouraging work that he has done. But my problem is we have an asset in this country. That asset we call bilingualism. How much of that bilingualism do we really promote? You see, the problem we face is that it is like a political pronouncement, a slogan. We should leave slogan and go to the real thing. Because take, what is the policy of bilingualism in this country? What's the policy? Because we know that it is written in the Constitution that we are bilingual. How much of it practically are we bilingual? If somebody tells you, like he says, moi je ne comprends pas ton anglais. Or bien, another would say in English, I don't speak French.
Yes, I don't speak French, yeah.
Now, but what is that? We are in a bilingual, every one of us should make an effort to learn the language. Now, if we don't have policies that put up, I'm talking now about state officials.
That's right.
Who stand in their offices and will tell you, I don't understand English, or I don't understand French.
It's an aberration.
But how do you expect those people to work? These are the sort of things that we are talking about. We have an asset, and we don't want to make use of that asset.
In fact, our time is up, but just one last question to Mr. Anu rapidly before we pack up from the studio. Which way forward now for this masterpiece? Is it going to be used during the Bilingualism Day or the Bilingualism Week?
Yes, it is going to be used during the Bilingualism Week. And I think we are thinking twice to see how far we can go around.
You're thinking aloud.
Yeah. How far can go around.
Thinking aloud.
Yeah, promoting the book to all the Cameroonians so that they should see and know that there is a book that deals with both French and English.
Yes. Get used to English. In fact,
S'habituer à l'anglais.
S'habituer à l'anglais is said, and this book is a very, in fact, timely, especially as the major issue of bilingualism is always on the table as we get to celebrate the Bilingualism Week and, of course, 50th anniversary of Cameroon's reunification. We've been thinking aloud with Bomako, the writer, Bomako, the lecturer at the university, and Bomako, of course, the publisher and the book developer, and thinking aloud too with Mr. Tasong George Anu, the writer, the publisher, and, of course, the linguist. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get us, move to www.canaldointernational.net, and then we'll get us online. From all and sundry, it's goodbye from the newsroom.